Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing the ongoing effects around climate change, excuse me, and the ever worsening situation globally. I'm going to finish up tonight, just really quickly. I wanted to finish up the article I was reading in the last video about Democrats and climate change. I'm going to talk about Democrats and climate change over the next few videos. So yeah, that's what's on the plate. Anyways, so we were reading this article titled Climate and the Infernal Blue Wave, straight talk about saving humanity. And I'm going to read the paragraph that I left off on and then go forward. We lost 8 precious years when Obama was president. Instead of moving forward, we hurtled backwards, both in terms of flooding the world with fossil fuels that have led to greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, excuse me, and in terms of locking ourselves into more of the same via massive infrastructure. Speaking of infrastructure, every time I see a construction project, I like gnash my teeth. Stop building. Just stop doing so much stuff. Like, let it go. I mean, that's, if you said that to people, they'd just be like, what are you talking about? This is what we do. We just build things. We just make stuff. Even if nobody even cares, nobody wants it. Nobody needs it. We just make it because we need the investment dollars. It is even possible that Obama's actions and inactions have already pushed the climate to the point of no return. How we get fooled. People get confused about what the Democrats actually do in office because many environmentalists and other party loyalists play up token advances as monumental gains. At the same time, they downplay or completely ignore climate-destroying actions. I think I already read this part, but I'm just going to go on from here. They also play games with statistics. An Obama fan gushes in 2016 that solar power has increased by 30 times since Obama took office. So let me skip down to where I actually left off. With all of this means that we as a species are going down, down, down. Democrats as well as Republicans are to blame. Leaving dead ends and delusions behind. It is clearly suicidal to continue the long-time dominant strategy of major environmental groups, striving to get Democrats elected and working with them for incremental reforms. Here's the truth. Carbon taxes, divestment, fuel efficiency standards, tax credits for solar panels, setting nice goals, and similar policy measures are not going to work. Nor is begging people to drive less, eat lower on the food chain, and otherwise tread more lightly on the planet. And doing all of these things at the same time won't make them magically add up to salvation. To halt global warming, we need to rapidly stop fossil fuel production, period. At the same time, we need to develop and implement comprehensive plans that, 1, directly deploy renewables, mass transit, and other climate solutions at the necessary grand scale. Questionable. 2, provide economic security for all workers, including, in particular, those displaced by climate mitigation. Absolutely true. Ding, ding, ding. And 3, ensure that every person has the capacity and resources to live healthy lives for themselves and the planet. Ding, ding, ding. To be able to do these things, we need to have direct control over fossil fuel production and over the deployment of climate solutions. Ample financial resources to implement climate solutions and to cover associated costs, such as ensuring full employment in the fossil fuel-free economy. This means that we need public ownership of the major industries. Yes, starting with the energy and financial industries so that we can make the decisions ourselves and do what needs to be done directly and immediately. Vibrant systems for democratically managing those industries and for developing and implementing plans that are just and effective. Guaranteed economic rights for all, including the right to a good-paying job, dignified, well-paid retirement, free healthcare, and free education. And that could be hashed out a little more, I'm sure. But basically what they're saying is nationalizing industries and the energy industry and fossil fuel industry would be the first thing In other words, we need to move beyond capitalism. Hey, 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 we need socialism. Instead of ceding decision-making authority and resources to a few oligarchs, we need to keep these for ourselves. Neither the Democrat nor the Republican parties are going to move us beyond capitalism. They've made that abundantly clear. Both parties are happy with the current inherently undemocratic capitalist system. Under that system, major industries are privately owned, which means a few people get to make decisions that affect everyone. Exxon's and Chevron's owners get to decide whether to pull oil and gas from the ground, for example. We're supposed to be able to steer those decisions through policies adopted by our elected officials and government agencies. But things don't work that way. Corporate profits flow to corporate owners, creating giant piles of money, which they use to thoroughly distort everything. Big money buys elections, legislation, news media outlets, public relations strategies, nonprofit groups, school curricula, lawsuits, smear campaigns against activists, violence, scientific research, control over enforcement agencies, and more. Because profits flow to corporate owners rather than the working people who generate those profits, we find ourselves without the wealth to do what needs to be done. Moreover, because big corporations control so many jobs, they can extort concessions out of us as individuals, communities, and a nation. Solutions to global warming are sitting right in front of us, but we can't implement them. We don't hold the reins. We lack the money that our labor created, and our jobs are threatened as if we challenge the corporations. This insane, unjust setup has got to go. Sounds like some communism. They're talking about communism, which is exactly what we need. Some form of socialism/communism. So sorry. Don't be afraid of that word. Embrace it. Love it. Gently stroke it. But the Democrats and Republicans are united in blocking real change. They're both heavily funded by oligarchs. They firmly uphold the economic system that creates oligarchs, and they do the oligarchs' bidding. A lot of elected officials from both parties are oligarchs themselves. We need to organize a movement that demands system change, and we need to help that movement birth a new political party of, by, and for working people that is truly democratic. We must get beyond futility trying to get corporate owners to do the right thing. We must get beyond a system that funnels wealth to the few, thereby creating massive inequities and big money distortion of every aspect of our lives. We must get beyond political parties that prop up capitalism and serve the wealthy few. Is there a place for seeking incremental reforms in our struggle to save humanity? Yes, but strategies involving support for such reforms must be developed and carried out in the context of our larger goal, securing and using real power through democratically managed public ownership and guaranteed economic rights. That's what we need to do to keep front. That's what we need to keep front and center. Everything we do needs to feed into that goal. The power to survive. Some say it's crazy to fight for system change, leaving the Democrats and incrementalism behind. System change is impossible, they maintain. We can't possibly achieve it in time to stave off disaster. But which is crazier, really, fighting for actual control over our destiny or continuing to fight within the very system that produced global warming, a system that thoroughly disempowers us? We have not yet seen what can happen when we fight for real change that can make people's lives truly better. For a long time, all the oxygen has been sucked out of the room by Democratic Party apologists and incremental reform-focused nonprofits. Anybody identify with those descriptions? Democratic Party apologists? What if all the energy, time, and money poured by unions, activist organizations, and individuals into dead ends went to the real fight instead? What if instead of saying, that's impossible, we can't change the system, we believed we could and we fought that way? But what if people fighting losing battles on all sorts of huge problems engendered by capitalism, global warming, the economic distress endured by most people, endless war, underfunded education, racism, and other forms of repression, and more, united to take on the common root of these problems? What if we were honest about the abysmal record of the Democrats, not just on global warming, but on most of these other issues as well? Remember, in the history of the article that described the history of climate change, remember that it was the Democrats that hemmed and hawed and hedged climate agreements into basically non-essential pieces of paper. We, the working people of the world who are screwed by the current setup, are many. They, oligarchs who hoard society's wealth and maximize corporate profits at our expense, are few. There are abundant signs that people are disgusted with the status quo. Everyone sees that big corporations call the shots, except for a very few people at the top. No one likes that arrangement. Change is in the air. Because we do the work of society, we really do have power. It's time to recognize and use that power. Boycott, boycott, boycott. If we unite and have each other's backs, we can engage in strategic broad strikes and in pouring into the streets in a systematic and effective way. We can win this fight. We can put obvious solutions to global warming swiftly in place. The main thing holding us back is false hope in the dead-end reforms and in capitalist parties that do not represent us. One can argue about whether Democrats are better than Republicans, i.e. we can engage in the age-old lesser evil comparison, but that is a diversion from the vital reality we must grasp. Neither party deserves our support. Both have reprehensible records and agendas. Both are in the pockets of the oligarchs who control society and deny us our most basic rights, including even our right to ensure the survival of humankind. We can no longer passively accept as our lot that our only choices are Democrats and Republicans, and that working for ineffective reforms within the confines they set is the best we can do. Man, I like this author. Finding strength, finding each other. I'm tired. The oligarchs have huge power, and it's been such a hard slog already. Those of you who are older, who have been fighting all these years and know what I mean about how it wears you down over time. And everyone, young and old, who's paying the slightest bit of attention knows how disheartening it can all be. We are up against massive big money forces that manipulate information and much more. But life and justice are simply too precious to give up. Let's dig deep and rise together at last. Each of us needs to tell the truth everywhere we can, even though that can be uncomfortable and frightening. Stand up and explain unapologetically that incremental changes are a dead end. The Democrat and Republican parties are dead ends. We have the power to win fundamental changes and must unite to demand them. The other thing we need to do is find each other. If you are lucky, there is an organization near you that understands what I'm talking about in this article. It fights for system change and is part of building the movement and the political party we need. If no such group exists, start something new. Engage in the simple yet radical act of bringing people together to talk. Have them over to your home or convene a meeting at your workplace or campus. Please contact me about your efforts, particularly if you are in the Pacific Northwest. Roadmaps already exist laying out how current renewable technologies can swiftly replace fossil fuels. There are more than enough resources to create the world we want. I'm going to just give this last couple sentences a deep sigh. One in which everyone's needs are met and we live in harmony with our environment. When we no longer cede the reins and our wealth to few, we, the many, will find our way forward. All right, pretty much, pretty awesome article. I enjoyed almost everything in that.